I'm Dr. Ceena Paul. Today we will be covering module number 6. That is, title of the module is Selected Industry. The objective of this module is to understand the functioning of the following industry, that is iron and steel, cement and coal. In this lesson we shall analyze the functioning of the three industries, iron and steel, cement and coal industry. These industries occupy an important position in the Indian economy. Their production includes consumer goods like cotton textiles as well as basic producer goods, iron and steel. The growth of these industries provide an understanding about the performance of the economy. Let's first cover cement industry. In India, the manufacture of cement took a concrete shape in 1904. However, the commercial production started in 1914 when Indian Cement Company Limited was set up its plant at Porbandar, Gujarat. By 1950, when the first plant was initiated, there were 21 factories with an annual capacity of 328 million tons operating in India. The industry was completely regulated by the government, that is, production, distribution, pricing was under the control of the government. This excessive control had undesirable effect on the progress of the industry. The industry experienced primary momentum in 1977 when the government announced 12% post-tax return on net worth of cement companies, and also the companies were allowed to fix retention price in order to achieve 12% post-tax return. The decade of 1980s proved to be beneficial to the industry, as first the partial decontrol and then total decontrol was announced in 1982 and 1989 respectively. For the industry, the big ticket reform took place in 1991 when the industry was delicensed. The industry responded favorably to these positive initiatives announced by the government, as the production capacity increased from 29 million tons in 1982 to 209.7 million in 2010-11, a substantial expansion by all means. The total installed capacity of the cement industry also saw a rise from 21 million ton in 1981-82 to 293.79 million tons as on March 2011, and this included both large cement plants and mini cement plants. At present, India is the second largest cement producer in the world. At the top slot is China. The bulk of the production capacity is created in the western region, as superior limestone deposits are located in that region. This is followed by South India, Northern India and Eastern region. An important characteristic of the industry is its location specific, and it has resulted formation of clusters of companies as suitable limestone reserves. At present, there are 7 clusters manufacturing a total of 55.3% of the total production capacity. The employment potential of the industry is also remarkable, as it employs over 2 lakh persons. Mini cement plant. The government, in order to exploit smaller deposits of limestone spread all over the country, has announced separate guidelines for mini cement plant. Mini cement plant is defined as a plant which is having a capacity of 50 tons to 200 tons a day. The major advantage of the mini cement plant, they have tremendous employment potential, and it also helps in dispersal of industrial activity. Currently, there are over 300 mini cement plants in the country, and it's all prominently located in the states of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and Rajasthan. Let's look at the problems of the industry. Now, from the shortage of cement, currently industry is facing a problem of plenty. The problem of plenty has brought in its wake new problems like cutthroat competition, under-remunerative price and deepening financial crisis. The main problem of the cement industry are outlined below. Burden of high tariff. Indian cement industry is taxed disproportionately in comparison to the world standard. This is well revealed from the high tariffs charged by the government. The various taxes imposed by the government amounts to 35% of the total retail price and 47% of the ex-factory price, excluding excise, sales and freight. This burden has made Indian cement industry internationally uncompetitive. Poor quality of coal. With regards to coal, which is one of the major input of the industry, cement industry faces twin problems. Shortage of coal, B, the quality of the coal supplied by the Indian manufacturers are of inferior quality due to its high ash content. To overcome the problem, the import is not viable solution to the industry, A, on account of foreign exchange payment, B, The factories are all situated far away from the forts, thus import of coal will cause additional freight expense. Power shortage is the next problem. Along with the coal, another input which is of vital importance to the industry is power. Power, along with the coal, forms 40% of the total cost. Power cuts, unsteady and inadequate power supply from State Electricity Board have created unceasing problem for the industry. To overcome this problem, many large cement plants have adopted the route of captive power plant. This option entails huge level of investment, and this option is beyond the reach of mini cement plant. Transportation problem. Transportation costs make up around 20% of the total cement price. The preferable mode of transportation for the industry is railway, but on account of shortage of wagon, many plants have switched to road transport. The railways, to overcome the shortage of wagons, have come with the policy of own your wagon, wherein cement companies have been allowed to purchase wagon. This has led to some marginal improvement and enabled the cement companies to tide over the distribution bottlenecks. Demand constraint. Prior to new economic policy, the major consumer of the industry was the government, with 40% of take. However, with the emphasis on cutting down the fiscal deficit, the government started curbing developmental expenditure and thus putting a demand constraint on the industry. However, lately, with the opening up of the infrastructure for the private and foreign sector, the announcement of National Highway Development Program, and with the growth of housing sector, there is renewed demand for cement. Underutilization of capacity. Underutilization of capacity is more a problem for plants situated in the eastern region and primarily it is on account of poor demand. The underutilization of capacity has constrained the companies from enjoying economies of scale and thus are not able to minimize cost of production at the prevailing levels of production. Cement technology has been a concern of the cement industry when the companies were using wet process technology, as the usage of technology led to high production cost and wastage of coal and electricity. However, lately, the industry has switched to fuel-efficient dry process plant. This has resulted in better capacity utilization, higher productivity, reduced energy consumption, lesser pollution, and better quality of cement. The next industry what we are going to cover today is iron and steel industry. In India, the advent of modern iron and steel industry took place in 1875, when the first recorded attempt to manufacture iron and steel through modern method took place. While the concept of large-scale production of iron and steel emerged in India when Tata Iron and Steel Company was set up in Jamshedpur in 1907. The industry had a timid growth till 1950. It was only after the second five-year plan, that is, after the adoption of the Mahalanobis plan, then the industry went to the trajectory of growth. At the time of independence, that is 1947, the total production capacity of finished steel was of order of 1 million ton. It expanded to 6.82 million ton in 1980-81 and 66 million ton in 2010-11. Along with the production of consumption of finished steel was also increasing. The consumption of finished steel in 2005 and 6 was 41.4 million ton, which rose to 65.61 million ton in 2010-11. However, in terms of per capita consumption, the Indian average of 11 kg of steel compares poorly with 685 kg in USA, 420 kg in Russia, 623 kg in Sweden, and 494 kg in Japan. The total export of finished steel in 2009 and 10 and 10 and 11 was 3.25 million ton and 3.46 million ton respectively. However, since 2007 and 8, India has turned to be a net importer of finished steel. In 2010 and 11, while export of finished steel were 3.46 million ton, imports were 6.79 million ton. In this exponential growth of iron and steel, the role played by public sector is vital. The first steel plant was set up in Rourkela. Today, there are 9 steel plants operating under public sector. In 1974, Steel Authority of India Limited was created and was made responsible for the development of steel industry and also the major inputs for the industry, that is coking coal, iron ore. SAIL was to bring about a coordinated and synchronized development of all the major units brought under its control. that is Hindustan Steel Limited, Pokhara Steel Limited, Salem Steel Limited, Hindustan Steel Wheel Construction Limited, Bharat Coking Coal Limited, and National Mineral Development Corporation Limited. Along with the private sector has also contributed in the development of iron and steel industry. The main players in the private sector: Tata, SR, Mukund, Lloyds, Jindals, etc. As with the case of the other industry, iron and steel industry was also regulated by the government. Industry was primarily a public sector monopoly. As per the 1956 industrial policy, iron and steel industry was reserved for the public sector. Policy also stated that while the existing units in the private sector would be allowed to continue and expand, new units would be set up only in the public sector. Its imports were canalized. It experienced productive import tariff, and domestic price was regulated by the government. However, the process of industrialization in this industry started far ahead of the other industries, that is 1982. Today, the industry is entirely open with no sectorial reservation, licensing, pricing, distribution, and import controls. Problems of iron and steel industry. The shortage of coal and power is the first problem faced by the iron and steel industry. One of the prominent problems faced by the steel plants are non-availability of required quantities of desired quality of coking coal. In addition, Indian coking coal suffers from high ash content mainly because of the sedimentary nature of the origin. To keep the high ash content low, the dependence of imported coal has to be increased, which has to be obtained on a considerably higher cost as compared to the domestic coal. Power shortage are also affecting the functioning of the steel plants adversely. Rise in input cost. Raw materials such as iron ore and coal constitute on an average 70% of the total cost of steel companies. Thus, when the price of these raw material go up, it affects the profit of the companies. That is what happened in 2005 and 6. When the price of the iron ore went up by 71% and coal went up by 50%, this resulted in a huge drop in the profits of the large steel players. Technological obsolescence. Some public sector and even private sector companies suffer from technological obsolescence. This affects the productivity of the plant, the labor productivity, and also leads high energy consumption. For instance, the labor productivity in Indian steel industry ranges from 39 tons per man year to 220 tons per man year. It ranges between 300 to 500 tons per man year in the steel industries of industrialized countries. Inefficient management. The problem of inefficient management is more acute in the public sector companies. The top management of the public sector companies are headed by IAS officers, and they are generally non-specialized, non-technical people who are incompetent to head a capital-intensive steel plant. The other problems faced by the management include political pressure, frequent labor disputes, etc. Demand constraint. The demand for iron and steel is linked with the government's developmental expenditure, demand from housing industry, infrastructure projects, etc. The next industry what we are going to cover is cotton textile industry. Indian textile industry is one of the oldest and the leading industry in the world. It plays a major role in the economy of the country. Its contribution to the GDP is 3%, to the export earning of the country is 27%, to the total industrial production of the country is 14%, and it employs 35 million persons. The textile industry can be divided into various segments. The various segments are cotton textile, silk textile, woolen textile, ready garments, handcrafted textile, jute and coir. In this section, we would cover only the cotton textile industry of India. Even though there are various segments to the industry, the Indian textile industry is primarily cotton-based, with 65% of the cloth production in the country being accounted for by cotton. Production of raw cotton varies from year to year, and this is reflected in figure number 1. This variation is mainly due to the erratic behavior of rainfall and weather condition. This variation in production causes price fluctuation in raw cotton, thus affecting the industry. The production of fabrics in India and pattern of cloth production of the divergent varieties of factories is given in table 2 and 3 respectively. On the analysis of the table, two significant trends emerges. Drop in the significance of the mill sector in the production of fabrics both in absolute and relative terms. This can be substantiated from the fact that the share of the mill sector, which stood at 79% in 1950-51, has moved down to 3% in 2010-11, whereas in the same period, the contribution of the decentralized sector has improved from 21% to 97%. With the decentralized sector, the mill sector major competitor is power loom sector, that is mainly due to a favorable government policy towards the sector, ability of the sector to enter flexibility in the product mix in line with the market situation, low labor cost resulting in low cost of production. The fiber mix pattern of fabrics has undergone a radical change. For instance, during the 30 years, the share of cotton cloth in total cloth production declined from 73% to 50%, and in the same period, other fabrics has raised their share from 27% to 50%. India is a leading exporter of both cotton textile fabrics and apparel, and export of both these segments has been a rising trend. As far as the export of textile yarn is concerned, it moved up from 65 crore in 1960-61 to rupees 21,809 crore in 2007 and 8. During the same period, the exports of apparels advanced from rupees 1 crore in 1960-61 to 38,214 crore. In fact, exports of apparel are now the second largest item of exports after gems and jewelry. With the aim to promote textile industry, the government has initiated the following steps after 1990. Textile Development Regulation Order of 1993 did away with the requirement of license for setting up textile units including power loom. To promote modernization among textile units, Technology Upgradation Fund scheme was launched in 1990. The fund provides interest subsidy on borrowings. In 2000, government announced its textile policy to make India a global player in textiles and apparels. The policy provided for setting up a venture capital fund for tapping knowledge-based entrepreneurs and assisting the private sector to set up specialized financial arrangements to fund the diverse needs of the textile industry. The new policy also encouraged the private sector to set up a world-class, environmentally friendly, integrated textile complex and textile processing units in different parts of the country, and also reviewed the working of Textile Research Association to focus research on industry needs. The policy also de-reserved the garment industry from SSI category to make the industry international more competitive. Another amendment was made by the government in 2002. Firstly, FDI limit of 24% was removed and foreign companies were permitted 100% investment through a 5PB route. Secondly, 50% export obligation on firms in which foreign equity was allowed was removed. In July 2005, Integrated Textile Park was approved to provide world-class infrastructure for textile industry. The scheme proposed to create textile parks in potential growth centers. The parks covered all segments of the textile industry, such as spinning, weaving, knitting, processing, and garmenting. Under the scheme, till now, the government has sanctioned 40 ITPs worth rupees 4 crore 140.44 crore, of which government assistance would be rupees 1,487 crore. Of these, 80 parks have been successfully completed, 13 have acquired 90% of the grants, and rest are in progress. In 2010, government announced Integrated Skill Development Scheme for the textile and apparel sector. The project aims to impart training to a workforce of about 2 crore 56,000 in the next 2 years in the textile sector. Prior to the WTO Agreement of Textile and Clothing, the 1995 exports of textiles were regulated by Multi-Fiber Agreement. The Multi-Fiber Agreement decided countrywide quotas for exports of textiles. The WTO Agreement abolished the quotas and opened up the textile industry to free competition at the international level. There were wide consensus that India and China will gain from this action. Of course, India gained with the dismantling of quotas. Within 1 year of the MFA regime being abolished, India exports grew at a rate of 22%. But India's exports performance was incomparable to China's surge in exports after MFA regime was abolished. China's better performance can be accounted for its huge capacity held in to capitalize on economies of scale. As against it, India has seen above the share of the decentralized sector in the production of fabrics is significantly large, and the share of the organized sector is minuscule. Further, China has focused aggressively to modernize and upgrade textile and clothing industry. Besides, China is better placed with regards to infrastructure. In this situation, many experts believe that India may lose out the race to China. Problems of textile industry. Poor quality and low productivity of cotton. The yield of Indian cotton is poor in comparison to world standard. In fact, it is around half of the world average. The other disturbing factors associated with Indian cultivation are that it is mainly produced by small farmers on small acreage and with absolute technology. These poor practices followed in cotton production have resulted in poor cotton quality and thus creating difficulties for the spinning industry. Outdated plant and machinery. The cotton textile industry in India is fairly old, and hence in number of mills the machines are old and outdated. The production through these outdated machines lead to higher production cost and poor quality of product. Labor problem. The industry is a hub of labor problems. While some labor problems are genuine, but also it's a fact, it is a battleground of many union leaders, political leaders and management to prove their might. Labor protests have thwarted the attempts of the management to modernize the machine due to the fear of displacement and unemployment. High cost and competition in foreign market. Due to high labor and raw material costs and inefficiency in production cost due to outdated machinery, Indian cotton textile industry has lost its competitive edge in the global market. Government controls and heavy excise duty. The cotton textile industry suffered due to the wrong policy of the government. In the past, government controlled every aspect of the industry: production, distribution, price of yarn. Price structure of the government was also illogical, as at times price was set below the production cost. In 1972, under the yarn distribution scheme, the government made it mandatory for all the mills to supply 50% of the production of yarn to the decentralized sector at a reduced price. The structure was withdrawn only in 1978 when the government exempted the mills from the obligation to produce controlled cloth. The various duties like excise duty, customs duty imposed by the government on the industry was also high. Competition from the decentralized sector. Decentralized sector of the industry is largely responsible for the growing sickness among the mills. The decentralized sector, due to their status of small-scale unit, is exempted from the excise duty and is also exempted from the production of controlled cloth. Similarly, the decentralized sector is highly unorganized or organized loosely. On account of this, the wage level in the sector is far lower than the observed in the mills. All these factors help the decentralized sector to keep the production costs low in comparison to the mills. The share of the mills sector dropped from 79% to 3% between 1951 and 2006, while the share of decentralized sector has moved rapidly over the last many years and it is around 97%. Availability of raw material. In the initial years of planning, the industry suffered from shortages. Such shortages in the production of raw cotton affected the expansion of industry. However, lately things have improved and India has become self-sufficient as regards production of raw cotton. Now the concern is fluctuating and high volatile prices of cotton month after month. Such fluctuation is severely hampering the progress of decentralized sector. Now let's look at the questions in this module. The questions are: trace the growth and problems of cement industry, discuss the growth and problem of iron and steel industry, review the growth and problem of cotton textile industry. Thank you. I'm Dr. Ceena Paul, Today we will be looking at module number 6 and lesson number 2. The objective of this lesson is to understand the functioning of iron and steel, cement and coal. In this lesson we shall analyze the functioning of 4 industries: engineering goods, jute, coal and information and technology. These industries occupy an important position in the Indian economy. Their production includes consumer goods, jute textiles, as well as basic producer goods like engineering goods. The growth of the industry provides an understanding about the performance of the economy. Let's first cover engineering industry. Engineering industry is one of the largest sector among the industrial segments in India, with a share of 27% of the total factories in the industrial sector. Besides, the industry's contribution towards country GDP is 3%, and it provides direct and indirect employment to over 4 million skilled and unskilled workers. The industry can be broadly categorized into 2 segments: heavy engineering and light engineering. This can be further categorized into machinery, capital goods, equipment and transport equipment in heavy engineering, casting, forging to sophisticated process control equipment in the light engineering segment. Within the engineering industry, heavy engineering goods account for the bulk of the production. Most of the leading manufacturers in the sector produce high-value, heavy engineering goods using high-end technology. The requirements of huge capital investment acts as a major entry barrier in the sector. Consequently, the small and unorganized firms have marginal market presence. The unorganized sector specializes in manufacturing of low technology products and also involved in the assembly of imported components. This segment caters to the replacement market for few products such as low quality small bearings. On the other hand, manufacturers of light engineering goods use medium to low end technology. The entry barriers is low owing to relatively lower requirement of capital and technology. This segment is characterized by dominance of small and unorganized players, which manufacture low value added products. However, a few medium and large scale firms produce high value products. The segment is also characterized by small capacities and high level of competition. Leading players in the manufacturing industry are Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited, Engineers India Limited, Hindustan Aromatic Limited, Crompton Greaves, LG Equipments, HMT, Kirloskar Oil Engines Limited, Larsen & Toubro Limited, Thermex Limited, Cumex India Limited, Alpha Laval, ASEAN Brown Brewery and Siemens Limited. The total engineering goods production was approximately $45 billion in the year 2008, and the industry has been growing by over 27% annually for the last 3 years. This growth in the domestic engineering industry has been fueled by the growth of key end user industry and due to many new projects which have undertaken in core industries such as railway, power and infrastructure. The capacity creation in sectors such as infrastructure, oil and gas, power mining, automobiles, auto component, steel, refinery and consumer durables has also driven growth in this sector. Apart from the demand from a user industry, the availability of technical education infrastructure, which provides an increasing number of technically trained human resources each year, is also another factor aiding the engineering industry in India. Further, India has been preferred by global manufacturing companies as an outsourcing destination due to its low labor cost and better designing capabilities. Further, the favorable government policy have also enabled the growth of sector. The steps taken by the government include engineering sector has been de-licensed with 100% FDI allowed. Foreign technology agreements are also permitted under automatic route. Traffic protection, tariff protection on capital goods has been withdrawn. This has reduced custom duties on a range of engineering equipments. Initiatives like Power for All by 2012, capacity addition plans in the 12th five-year plan, and infrastructure projects such as Golden Quadrilateral and North-South and East-West corridors have fueled growth in the sector. Government has granted significant number of SEZ for the engineering sector across the country. These steps have taken by the government has attracted FDI to the industry. Currently, engineering sector attracts around 36% of the total FDI through automatic route, subject to the limit of $2 million of lump sum payment. The engineering sector is one of the major contributors to the country's total exports. Engineering exports mainly include transport equipment, capital goods, other machinery equipment, and light engineering products like casting, forging, and fasteners. India's exports of engineering goods have grown at 28% during 1999 to 2000 to 2008 and 9. In 2010, it declined by 18.7% because of the global recession, leading to fall in the demand of engineering exports. Engineering exports again improved in 2010, touching $59.78 billion, thus recording a growth of 84% over 2010 and 48% over 2008 and 9 exports. The growth of exports in engineering sector are mainly due to the faster growth of two major items, machinery and instruments and transport. The share of engineering goods exports to total exports has increased from 11.9% in 1999-2000 to 23% in 2011. The major markets for Indian engineering exports in 2011 were China, USA, UAE, Singapore, South Africa, Germany, Sri Lanka, and UK. The USA and Europe together account for about 60% of India's engineering exports. The problem of the industry. Industry is experiencing growth trajectory. However, India is suffering from various problems, which includes long product development cycle, unprofessional working style, inadequate level of training of employees, lack of professionalism at top management, unrecognized vendor base, fluctuating raw material cost, competition from the global market, recession leading to cancellation of projects. Jute industry. The next industry what we are going to cover is the jute industry. Jute industry is the oldest in the country. The first power-driven jute mill was set up in Kolkata in the year 1859. Thereafter, industry grew at a rapid pace. It provides direct employment to about 2.5 lakh persons, and nearly 40 lakh families derive their living from jute production. The industry is basically concentrated in West Bengal, as 60 out of the 77 jute mills are situated in the state. From 1947, the industry is suffering from shortage of raw jute, as 70% of the jute production area fell in Bangladesh. To bridge this gap between demand and supply of raw jute, the Government of India initiated various steps which included improving the yield per hectare of raw jute and bringing more areas under jute production. These initiatives resulted in the expansion of production. That is, in 1951, the total production of raw jute stood at 3.3 million bales, which increased to 10.5 billion bales in 2004 and 5. Even though the production of raw jute has touched new heights, nevertheless, intellectual production is insufficient to meet fully the needs of the country. In the last 2 decades, the production of jute textile has improved on account of better utilization of capacity and improved power supply position. The production of jute textile has increased from 890,000 tons in 50-51 to 1,775,000 tons in 2007 and 8. However, much of the production was used internally for sacking requirement. As a result, the export of jute textiles moved down from 790,000 tons to 107,000 tons in 2007 and 8. In the recent years, the government announced 2 important policies for the promotion of jute industry. They are National Jute Policy 2005 and Jute Technology Mission. The government formulated the first ever National Jute Policy in 2005 with the objective of increasing production, improving quality, ensuring remunerative price to jute farmers, and enhancing per hectare yield. Again in June 2006, the government announced Jute Mission, Technology Mission to achieve the following objective: develop high-yielding varieties to improve productivity and acceptability in market, improving retting practices to get better quality fiber, transfer of cost-effective technologies to the farmers, create strong market linkages, expand the scope of for marketing of diversified jute products within the country and abroad. The Jute Technology Mission comprises 4 missions and they are indicated in the table below. Mini Mission 1 Research activities on jute. Mini Mission 2 Development extension of raw jute agriculture. Mini Mission 3 Marketing of raw jute. Mini Mission 4 Processing, utilization and industrial aspects of raw jute. Problems of jute industry. Problem of raw material. Industry started facing the problem of inadequate supply of raw material right from the time of independence. Despite the various steps initiated to boost the domestic production of raw jute, the supplies were inadequate and irregular. This has necessitated imports to supplement domestic production of raw jute. Irregular power supply. The majority of the jute manufacturers are situated in West Bengal and the state suffers from severe power crisis. This has adversely affected the jute manufacturers operating from the West Bengal. Use of outdated machinery. One of the serious problems facing the industry, use of outdated plant and machinery. Such outdated plant and machinery leads to higher production cost and in the process affecting the competitiveness of the industry in the international market. In the international market, industry is facing competition from China and Bangladesh, who are equipped with new mills processing modern industry, which helps them to keep the production costs low and accordingly posing a serious threat to India's jute exports. To assist the industry in their modernized effort, the Government of India announced package of assistance of rupees 150 crore under the Jute Modernization Fund scheme. The assistance is available to both sick as well as healthy units. Emergence of substitutes. The biggest problem facing the industry is competition from the substitutes. Jute bags have been losing the market in both domestic as well as international market. At home, packing of food grains, sugar, cement and fertilizer is increasingly be done in synthetic bags in place of jute bags. In the domestic market, consumption of jute products peaked in 2001 and 12 when it touched 1.5 million tons. Thereafter, the consumption of jute products started receding basically to the use of synthetic product. The story is same in the international market, where also the industry is losing ground due to the increasing use of substitutes and adoption of new tactics of transportation. The other problem facing the industry can be summarized as increasing labor cost and input cost, high man-machine ratio, and mismatch between installed capacity and actual production. These problems have pushed many jute units into sickness, and many of them have approached BIFR for assistance. In the face of rising sickness in the industry has no recourse to undertake large-scale modernization and rehabilitation program. Besides, the industry is saddled with a large number of workers who already crossed the age of retirement, but the industry is unable to retire them due to the paucity of fund. The next industry which we are going to cover today is coal industry. Indian coal industry is third largest in the world in terms of production and fifth largest in the world in terms of coal reserves. Of the total reserves, nearly 88% are non-coking coal reserves, while tertiary coal reserves account for a meager 0.5% and the balance is coking coal. Around 70% of the domestic production of coal is used for electricity generation and the remaining by iron and steel, cement and other heavy industry. In India, commercial coal mining started in the year 1774, the summer and healthy of East Indian Company in Ragganganj coal field along the western bank of river Damodar. Thereafter, for about a century, the growth of Indian coal mining remained sluggish for want of demand, but the introduction of steam locomotives in 1853 gave a flip to it. Within a short span of time, production rose to an annual average of 1 million ton, and by 1920, India's production increased to 18 million tons per year. The production got a sudden boost after the announcement of the First World War, but again went through a slump in the early 30s. The production reached a level of 30 million tons by 1946. With the advent of independence, the country embarked upon the 5-year development plan. At the beginning of the first 5-year plan, annual production went up by 33 million ton. During the first 5-year plan period, the need for increasing coal production efficiently by systematic and scientific development of the coal industry was felt. This reasoning led to the setting up of National Coal Development Corporation, a Government of India undertaking in 1956 with the collieries owned by the railways as its nucleus. Beside NCDC, Singiri Collieries Company Limited, which became operational since 1945, was also owned by the government. Presently, SCCL is a joint undertaking of the government of Andhra Pradesh and the government of India, sharing its equity in 51:49 ratio. India thus has two government coal companies in the 50s. In 1970s, the government started the process of nationalization. This was mainly on account of these reasons. Capital investment done by private coal mine owners were inadequate to meet the growing energy needs of the country. Unscientific mining practices adopted by some of the private coal mine owners, the poor working condition of labor in some of the private coal companies. These reasons became matters of concern for the government, and the central government took a decision to nationalize the private coal mines. The nationalization was done in two phases. The first with the coking coal mines in 71-72 and then with the non-coking coal mines in 73. Coal India Limited was set up in 1975 to manage nationalized coal mines in the country. It now has 8 subsidiaries, 7 being production companies and the Central Mines Planning and Design Institute as an engineering design and exploration institute. The Coal India Limited coal production funding financial year 2011 was 431.32 million tons. Currently, SCCL and CILI jointly produce 90% of the total coal production in India. Under Coal Mines Act 1973, coal mining was exclusively reserved for the public sector companies. In 1993, government introduced the policy for captive mining. This policy opened the coal sector to private investment. Yet no promising progress has been made in the captive coal blocks allotted by the government to the private sector. Out of the 200 allotted blocks, 20 have been deallocated. Only 30 mines have been commissioned production during the various reasons. The combined production from these was merely 36.30 million in financial year 2010-11 against the target of 104 million ton. Contagious issues, availability of geographical data, land acquisition and environment clearance, mining lease are the primary reasons behind the dismissal production. In 2005, Central reviewed its foreign direct investment policy in the coal sector and allowed foreign equity up to 100% in the private Indian companies setting up operating power projects as well as coal or lignite mines for captive consumption, provided the coal or lignite produced by them is meant entirely for captive consumption in power generation. Similarly, 100% power investment in the equity of an Indian subsidiary of a foreign company or in the equity of an Indian company for setting up of coal processing plants in India was also allowed, subject to the condition that such Indian subsidiary or the Indian company shall not do coal mining and shall not sell the washed coal or seized coal from the coal processing plants in the coal market and shall supply the washed coal seized from the coal to the respective parties, sending roll to such coal processing plants for washing or sizing. The other private Indian companies engage in exploration or mining of coal and lignite for captive consumption for production of iron and steel may be allowed foreign equity up to 74%. In all the above cases, automatic approval of the Reserve Bank of India for foreign direct investment in the equity of Indian companies up to 50% were allowed. Beyond 50%, FIPB approval was required. Although India is the 5th largest reserves coal in the world and country's coal production has increased from 431 million in 2006 and 7 to 554 million 11 and 12, yet it is unable to meet its domestic demand. In the last decade, the demand for coal grew at a compounded annual growth rate of more than 7%, and the demand has reached around 600 million ton. This demand-supply gap has resulted in large import of coal. Since 2004, the country's coal import grew at a compound annual growth of 15%. India today accounts for about 10% of the world's import coal demand. As mentioned above, India has the fifth largest reserves of coal in the world, yet we are unable to satisfy the domestic requirement. Some of the challenges faced by the industry increasing the production capacity are as follows. Majority of the coal projects have been halted and delayed due to the issues in acquiring land, strict rules and regulations. Even subsidies of CIL such as MCL in Angle face issues pertaining to RRR. Bottlenecks in domestic coal transportation and lack of power and road connectivity further increases the challenge. Also, availability of railway wagon and mismatch of demand and supply of wagon and coal offtake take production capacity. Delay in mining capacity at captive coals and concern relating to increasing ash content of the mine and coal further hinders production. The next industry what we are going to cover is Indian information technology industry. Indian information technology industry is one of the fastest growing industry in the country with 7.5% share in the country's GDP in 2011 and 12. The origin of IT industry in India can be traced back to the year 1974 when the mainframe manufacturer Burgos asked its Indian sale agent Tata Consultancy Service to export programs for installing system software for a US client. During this period, the state adopted a hostile stand towards the country. The import tariffs were kept at a high rate for hardware and software. The import tariffs were 135% and 100% respectively. Further, software was not recognized as an industry and thus exporters were not eligible for bank finance. The stand by the government ruled out the participation of small firms and the industry was dominated in the initial period by Bombay-based conglomerates. The 80s witnessed a change in the stand of the government and the government abandoned its protectionist stand and announced incentives for the development of IT sector. In 1984, Rajiv Gandhi announced the new computer policy which reduced import tariffs on hardware and software to 60%. Further, the policy recognized software export as a delicensed industry and thus software exports were eligible for bank finance. Permission were also granted to foreign firms to set up wholly owned export dedicated units and the government also resolved to set up chain of software parks which would offer infrastructure at below market cost to the software exporters. In 1985, all export revenue was exempted from income tax. Policy reforms continued in the 90s and 2000 and the import tariff were reduced to near zero level. In addition, technological changes during this period, particularly the internet, led to sharp decline in data storage and transmission costs. These changes induced a new round of entry for the transnational companies and opened new opportunities for existing firms in remote software services such as email management, remote software maintenance. In order to facilitate growth of e-commerce, electronic communication through internet and accelerate induction of IT in critical sectors of the economy, Information Technology Act in 2000 was approved by the government. The act provides legal framework to facilitate electronic commerce and electronics transaction and aimed at recognizing electronic contracts, prevention of computer crimes, electronic filing documentation, digital signature, etc. Industry structure. The Indian IT industry can be broadly divided into two markets, domestic market and export market. The export market constitute the largest segment accounting for 69% of the total revenue generated by Indian IT industry in 2010 and 11-12. The domestic IT industry is broadly divided into following four segments. IT services, software segment which includes engineering and research and development services, IT enabled service and business processing service, hardware and hardware. Table presents information on the growth of the IT industry during the period 2001 and 12. The table clearly indicates that industry has grown considerably during the period 2001 to 12. In 2001, the total size of the industry was $13.4 billion, which moved up to $100.8 billion in 2011 and 12. A considerable part of the growth is due to the export market, which increased from 7.6 million to $69.1 billion in the same period. Thus, the share of export market in the total industry moved from 56% to 69%. The most important export market for Indian software is USA, followed by UK. The share of USA in total software exporters 2001 and 12 was 65.6%, which has marginally fallen to 62% in 2011 and 12. The industry holds good employment potential. In 2008 and 9, the industry provided employment to 22.3 lakh person, which moved up to 28 lakh in 2010 and 11. The indirect employment attributed to the sector is estimated to about 89 lakh in several ancillary industry. It has been estimated that by 2030, the industry would offer employment to 300 lakh person. Success factors of IT industry: easy availability of talent pool and cost advantage. For developing software, we need the knowledge of English and mathematical skill. The required knowledge is easily available in India and is also available 5 to 8 times cheaper than the one available in developed country. And this is one of the significant advantage of Indian IT sector. Process and quality. Nearly all the Indian software companies take CMM certification, which is a benchmark of quality management. Of the approximately 250 companies reaching level 5 of the CMM, 60 are from India. This gives the impression of the company being dependable and hence help them to tap the market easily. Supportive government policy. In early 1970, government policy of India were not much of supportive. However, the post-liberalization, government announced incentives for the development of IT sector, like reducing import tariffs on hardware and software, developing software technology parks, and introducing legislative action to protect intellectual property. Indian government policies are framed in a way that ensures maximum benefit out of the IT outsourcing to India. Unique geographic location. The major consumer of IT products so far has been USA. The time difference between India and USA is 12 hours, and it offers economy of 24 hours a day by communication equipment. Concerns of the IT industry. Threat of the new emerging services economy. Along with India, Israel, Ireland have similar advantage as regards IT sector. These countries are now eating the market share of Indian IT industry and thus posing threat to Indian IT sector. Moreover, software sector of Korea, Taiwan, Philippines is also challenging India. Emergence of China as substitute. China is gradually emerging as a tough competitor in offshore IT services. China has begun offering better rates as compared to China because of low-cost talent pool. The government of China is taking measures to improve the IT sector and to overcome the language barrier. Hardware sector lacking behind. India is the leader for the software. However, the development of hardware has not shown commendable progress to low-margin business. Indian companies thus have to depend on foreign countries for their hardware requirement. Poor infrastructure. The survival of IT industry depend upon greater communication facilities, particularly to ITES, BPO, to grow at a faster rate. However, communication network in India is far behind most of the Western developed countries, worse than our coldest competitor China. Concentrated market and anti-sourcing. United States and United Kingdom have been the dominant market for Indian IT sector. This dependency on few markets resulted in sudden fall in demand, particularly after the economic crisis of 2007. Also, countries have started raising their concerns regarding migration of jobs to India. Diversified client base would help to reduce the dependency of the sector on few economies. Domestic consumption. Overseas market accounts for the bulk of Indian software sector, mainly from software outsourcing. The demand for IT products within India has been very less as compared to that of other countries. Such an environment should be reversed. An initiative should be taken by the government to develop domestic IT sector, help to reduce dependence on the international market. Exchange rate. The major part of the sector revenues earned in foreign currency in Indian rupees. Thus, appreciation of revenue reduced revenues, whereas depreciation increased the revenue. The fluctuating exchange rate, big volatility in operating margins for IT sector. Questions for self-study. This is the growth and problems of engineering industry. Trace the growth and problem of jute industry. Review the progress of IT industry. Discuss the growth and problems of coal industry. Thank you. Hello, I'm Dr. Ceena from Sri M D Shah Mahila College. Today we will be looking at module number 5, that is external sector. After you have gone through this lesson, you will be able to understand the trend and pattern of FDI in India, also the trend and pattern of Indian industry abroad, and discuss the concept of merger and acquisition. Let's look at the first topic, that is trend and pattern of FDI in India. If a developing country wants to embark on rapid economic development, it will have to import machinery, technical know-how, spare parts, and even raw material. This requires large amount of foreign exchange. One mechanism to generate the required foreign exchange is to step up exports. Another mechanism is to invite foreign investment. Foreign investment are of four types: direct foreign investment, foreign collaboration, intergovernment loans, and loans from financial institutions. External commercial borrowing. In this section, we will analyze the trend and pattern of foreign direct investment in India after 1991. OECD has defined foreign direct investment in the following words. FDI is defined as a cross-border investment by a resident entity in one economy with the objective of obtaining a lasting interest in an enterprise resident in another country. The lasting interest implies the existence of a long-term relationship between the direct investor and the enterprise, significant degree of influence by the direct investor on the management of the enterprise. Ownership of at least 10% of the voting power representing the influence of the investor is a basic criterion used. The trend and pattern of FDI can be analyzed with the help of following data. FDI inflows by country of origin, FDI inflows by states of destination, FDI inflows by region-wise breakup. Table 1 presents data on foreign investment approvals and inflows in India during the period in between 1991 and 2003. Table 2 presents data on 10 sectors which are receiving highest FDI inflows during the period in between April 2000 to March 2012. Country-wise actual inflows of FDI is presented in Table 1, that is for the period between 2000 to 2012. Table 4 presents region-wise breakup of FDI from January 2000 to March 2011. Table 1 clearly shows there is a huge jump in the FDI proposals approved. 1991, the proposals stand approved at 534 crore, which enhanced to 6,042 crore in 2003. However, these approvals have not been converted into actual inflows. Of course, there is no doubt that it takes some time for all these proposals to translate into actual flows. Yet the actual flows were comparatively lower in 1997. However, thereafter, a recovery is noticed. Actual inflow during 2002 peaked in 21,286 crore. FDI inflows indicate a high level of concentration, at 59% of inflows were attracted to 10 sectors. But a positive point is nearly 36% of the FDI inflows are in high priority areas like computer software, hardware, telecommunication, construction, power, automobile industry, metallurgical, drug and pharmaceutical. The concentration is also repeated in the source of FDI destination, as Mauritius accounts for 38% inflows between April 2000 and March, followed by Singapore and UK with 19 and 9% respectively. The other contributors to actual inflows of some significance were Japan, USA, Germany and Netherlands. Looking at the cause of huge investment from Mauritius-based investment are nothing but US investment and investment from other developed countries. They are routed through Mauritius because of the tax advantage. The tax advantages emanates from double tax avoidance agreement that India has with that country. Also, concentration is revealed in region-wise breakup of FDI inflows, as 6 regions, that is Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Ahmedabad and Hyderabad, account for 75% of the FDI inflows. It also implies that the majority of FDI is flowing to regions with better infrastructure connectivity, having the backward regions to depend upon domestic investment. Foreign investment flows since 1991, a critical appraisal. Yes, FDI approvals reveal a quantum jump since liberalization policy 1991. Yet the actual flows have been much lesser. Thus, the foreign investor have not matched the intent with performance. In fact, actual inflows have been less than the half of the approvals. Another point of worry as regards FDI inflows into India is it is not going into fresh capital formation, but in mergers and acquisition. Almost 40% of the inflows seem to have been used for acquiring existing industrial assets and the managerial control. FDI has been blamed for further accentuating regional disparities in India, as Delhi, Maharashtra, Dadra, Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu, Haryana, selected parts of Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka have received more than flow of the FDI inflows. A large part of of the country has received only negligible flow of inflows. FDI inflows in India have received a serious boost after the initiation of economic reforms in 1991. However, when we compare India with China, it is realized that the inflows received by India is far negligible in comparison to China. According to Report on Currency and Finance, FDI inflows into China in 90s were 10 times inflows to the inflows to India. A part of the difference of FDI inflows between India and China is because of the definitional and conceptual issues, and there has been underestimation of FDI in India. However, even after accounting for the difference, FDI in China continues to be much higher than of India. Majority of FDI inflows is largely in white goods sector, automobiles and other luxury items, catering to the needs of the rising upper middle class and rich class. A share of investment in strategically important high-tech sectors and in consumer good industry, catering to the needs of the poor, are not significant. An objective of promoting FDI has been to remove efficiency in production and increase exports. However, as currently pointed out by C.P. Chandrasekhar and Jayanti Ghosh, any increase in the equity stake of the foreign investor in existing joint ventures or purchase of share of equity by them in domestic would not automatically change the orientation of the firm. Thus, the aim of such FDI investor would be to benefit from the profit earned in the Indian market. As a result, in such cases, FDI inflows need to be accompanied by a substantial increase in exports, whether such investment lead to modernization of domestic capacity or not. Let's look at the second topic today, that is the trends and pattern of Indian industry. Early 1960s saw the emergence of Indian transnational cooperation on the international scene, when a few Indian business conglomerates like Tata, Birla, Kirloskar began to expand their production activities transborder by investing in Sri Lanka and other African countries. Since then, Indian economy has been continuous growth of Indian transnational cooperation activity over time, with the constant changes in the nature, characteristic and motivation of such activities. However, as compared to the past trend, the growth in the phenomenon of Indian enterprise investing abroad has been more rapidly only in the 1990s. The cumulative number of Indian joint ventures approved during the 1990s is estimated to be 2,562, nearly 11-fold increase from the number of IV ventures during 1975-90 at mere 230. In terms of equity value, this real boom period of Indian transnational cooperation activity saw an outflow of $4,262 million worth of Indian direct investment as compared to mere $222 million outflow during the pre-1990s period. As a result of this massive outflow, the actual stock of Indian direct investment now stood at $6.6 billion by end of March 2004, a leapfrog jump from $116 million in 1980. The evolution of Indian outward foreign direct investment can be divided into two distinct periods, from 1975 to 1990 and from 1991 to the present. In the first wave of outward foreign direct investment flows, the major investors and the manufacturing firms, as the manufacturing firms accounted for more than 65% of outward foreign direct investment equity over 1975-90. The major chunk of investment were done in manufacturing activities like fertilizer, pesticides, leather, iron and steel, wood and paper. Financial services and leasing and hotel and tourism were the two largest service sector in the outward foreign direct during this period. During 75-90, the Indian outward foreign direct investment was mere concentrated in the developing regions of the world economy, as reflected by the fact that about 72% of the outward foreign direct approvals were directed at it. Within the developing region, countries of Southeast Asia and East Asia emerged as the largest recipient of Indian outdoor foreign direct investment, claiming about 36%, followed by Africa by 17%, West Asia and Central Asia with 10% each, and South Asia with 9%. Latin America and Caribbean remained least attractive regions for overseas Indian investment. Therefore, during the first wave, geographical closeness to India, familiarity of language, history and ethnicity were the factors influenced the locational decision of Indian outward investors. In the second wave, outward foreign direct investment activities by Indian firms were largely driven by service sector enterprises, which accounted for nearly 60% of the value of outward foreign direct investment. The share of manufacturing enterprise declined from 65% in first wave to 9.29% of second wave. Prominently, the second outward foreign was slow, or the emergence of drug and pharmaceutical industry as an important outward investor, whose share in the total outward foreign jumped from 2% of first wave to 6% in second wave. Among service sector, the old outward investors, giants such as hotel and restaurants and financial services, saw a decline in their share from 11% to 3% and from 12% to 2% respectively. During the second wave, Indian industry and broadcasting and publishing emerged as the two largest service sector investors, were also the two largest outward investors from the economy with 32% and 17% respectively. Location-wise, Indian outward foreign in the second wave moved from developing countries to industrialized countries. Out of the each dollar overseas investment made by the Indian economy, about 60% have gone into the developed region. The developed region, namely UK, USA, were the top two hosts of Indian outdoor foreign investor during this period, jointly accounting for more than half of the total outward foreign direct investment. Among developing countries, Southeast and East Asia has reported largest decline from 36% during the first wave to mere 9% during the second wave. The other developing countries that witnessed decline in attractiveness as a host of Indian outdoor foreign direct investment was Central Asia and Africa. Latin America has seen big improvement in the hosting role from less than 1% to 4%. This changing location distribution or outward foreign direct investment from India therefore indicate that the ownership advantage of Indian enterprise are increasingly finding larger role in advanced countries. Furthermore, advanced countries being service-driven economies, affecting growing market of service sector, Indian particularly from software sector. Another feature of Indian outward for investment is that Indian knowledge-based industry like software and pharmaceutical industry have contributed the largest number of outward for investing firms to this group of total 40 outward investors. There are 14 firms from Indian software industry and 8 firms from Indian pharmaceutical industry, which jointly came for 22 largest outward investors from Indian economy among the top 20 group. The analysis shows that outward foreign direct investment from India has increased considerably during the second wave as compared to the first wave. The first wave outward foreign direct investor flows from was dominated by few manufacturing sector and thus largely limited to developing country. The pattern of outward foreign direct investment changed in the second wave when Indian firms began to invest abroad on a much larger scale, and the investment were well diversified, and increasingly investment were dominated by service sector. Locationally, they are moving towards developing countries. The next topic what we are going to cover is merger and acquisition. Merger is said to occur when two or more companies combine into one company. One or more companies may merge with an existing company, or they merge to form a new company. Laws in India use the term amalgamation for merger. For example, Section 2 of the Income Tax Act 1961 defines amalgamation as a merger of one or more companies with another company, or the merger of two or more companies to form a new company called amalgamated company. Merger and acquisition. Merger is said to occur when two or more companies combine into one company. One or more companies may merge with an existing company, or they merge to form a new company. Laws in India use the term amalgamation for merger. For example, Section 2(1)(a) of the Income Tax Act 1961 defines amalgamation as a merger of one or more companies with another company, or the merger of two or more companies to form a new company called amalgamated company. In such a way, all the assets and liabilities of the amalgamated company and shareholders holding not less than 9/10 value of the shares in the amalgamated company or companies become shareholders of the amalgamated company. Thus, in merger, the fundamental characteristic of merger is that acquiring company takes over the ownership of other companies and combine their operation with its own operation. As against it, acquisition is defined as an act acquiring effective control by one company of assets or management of another company without any combination of companies. Thus, in acquisition, two or more companies may remain independent, separate legal entity, but there may be change in control of companies. Different forms of merger. Depending upon the relationship between two companies that are merging, we can classify merger into 4 types: horizontal merger, vertical merger, market extension merger, production extension merger, and conglomeration. Horizontal merger. This is a merger of two or more companies in similar type of production, distribution, or area of business. Vertical merger. This is a merger of two or more companies involved in different stages of production or distribution. This is market extension merger. This is a merger of two or more companies that sell the same products in different market. Product extension merger. This is a merger of two or more companies selling different but related product in the same market. Conglomeration. This is a merger of two or more companies that are engaged in unrelated lines of business. Reason for merger and acquisition. There are various reasons why firms go forward with merger and acquisition. Generally, the reasons fall in the category of competition, efficiency, marketing, product, resource, tax issues, and also personal reason. Various reasons for merger and acquisition include tax shield. When a firm with accumulated losses or unabsorbed depreciation merges with a profit-making firm, tax shields are utilized better. A profit-making firm, when it merges with a company with accumulated loss or unabsorbed depreciation, it can set off the losses, making firms accumulated losses and unabsorbed depreciation against its own profit, and tax benefits can be quickly realized. Surplus cash. A cash-rich company with a limited internal opportunities to invest a surplus cash may have two options: to invest a surplus cash, pay a higher dividend to the shareholders, or acquire some other company. In the first option, the shareholders may not benefit much because when the surplus cash is distributed to the shareholders in the form of dividend, they will have to pay tax at ordinary income tax rate, which is on the higher side. The benefits are more in the second option because the shareholders' wealth may increase through an increase in the market value of the shares if surplus cash is used to acquire another company. They may sell their shares. They'll have to pay a lower capital gain tax and compared to higher income tax. Economies of scale. Economies of scale arise when increase in the volume of production leads to a reduction in the cost of production per unit. Merger may help to expand volume of production with a corresponding increase in fixed costs. This fixed cost is distributed over a larger volume of production, causing the unit cost of production to decline. Economies of scale may also arise from other indivisibilities such as production facility, management function, management resources and system. This happens because a given function, facility or resources is utilized for a large scale of operation. Operating economies. In addition to economies of scale, a combination of two or more firms may result in cost reduction due to operating economies. A combined firm may avoid or reduce overlapping functions and facility. It can consolidate its management function such as marketing, manufacturing, R&D, and reducing operating costs. Synergy. Synergy implies a situation where the combined firm is more valuable than the sum of the individual combining firm. It is defining as 2 plus 2 equal to 5 phenomena. Synergy refers to benefits other than those related to economies of scale. Operating economies is also one type of synergy. Synergy may also arise from increased managerial capacity, creative innovativeness, research and development, etc. Reduce competition. One major reason for companies to combine is to eliminate competition. Acquiring a competitor in an excellent way is to improve a firm's position in the marketplace. It reduces competition and allows the acquiring firm to use a target firm's resources and expertise. Market and product line issues. Often mergers occur simply because one firm is established in the market in which the other company wants to enter. In this situation, rather than setting a new company, if the firm acquires a target company, it can readily utilize the firm's experience and resources. Increase market share. A merger can increase the market share of the merged firm. The increased market share improves the profitability of the company. The bargaining power of the firm against labor, suppliers, and buyers is also enhanced. The merged firm can also exploit technological breakthrough against obsolescence and price wars. Thus, by limiting competition, the merged firm can earn supernormal profit. By limiting competition, the merged firm can earn supernormal profit and employ the surplus funds to further consolidate its position and improve its market power. Let's see the questions. Explain the concept of merger and acquisition along with the different types of merger. What are the different reasons for merger and acquisition? Critically evaluate the trend and pattern of FDI in India. Discuss the trend and pattern of Indian industry abroad. Thank you.